there, Facebook. I'm really sorry that my screen is so fuzzy. It's um, because my glass is broken on my phone, and it's right over the top of the camera. So if it's blurred, it's not because I'm using any filters or anything like that. It is just cracks over the screen. I really don't want to be here. I really don't want to talk about this. But if I don't talk about this, one, how are any other parents that have either been through social and have been institutionalized by social ever going to understand that the battlefield in their mind is very normal with such trauma? And how are social workers ever going to learn the hindrance that they are causing and the trauma that they are causing? So hello to anybody who is here and understands why I live, why I speak out, why I talk about the battlefield of my mind right now and what I've been through today and how hard the last couple of days have been through. And I'm going to talk about things that are probably going to want to make people call the police, want to make people section me. I'm really, really, really sorry, Maria, but it is, I tell you what, let me see if I can take my phone out of the cover and see if that makes a difference to the sound for you. I'm just a little bit worried that my glass is going to fall off the front of my... Does that make the sound work any better for you? One, I've got glass chunks out all on this phone. I'm literally, as soon as payday comes, I've now got SIM card, I've now got full internet. For anybody who doesn't know, I've got a link, by the way, to anybody who's on benefits that wants to only pay £10 a month for 6 months for unlimited. It's a thing that's there for people who are on benefits. But anyway, just in case you don't want to be on this live with what I'm going to be talking about, this is really for people who have been through the trauma that I've been through. But it is for other people to understand, because the mindset out there of people and social is that it is damn impossible to remove children, that they go through all of these things to be able to do it, and you must be a significant risk or have caused some form of significant risk to be warranted children to be, you must be that bad to have your children forced adopted from you. And that's not the case. Our system here in the UK is only child protection and children in need. We don't have a family support system. Children's social care and adult social care, the GP and all of the multi-agencies that exist are so damn fragmented. And that is what I went on Daybreak 11 years ago to say. And for somebody like me with the condition that I have, all it is when things go wrong, I need to know what to do. So it is Lost and Lost Syndrome Awareness Week. That is what I deal with. That is the condition that I have. But what has been really difficult, and I'm going to post it up later, exactly what Flintshire Council said when Dr. Bose said that Lost syndrome was the easiest condition for anyone to claim to have, and that Aaron and Faith were not symptomatic of it. Aaron and Faith have been diagnosed with EDS. They were already diagnosed with EDS before they were taken. It was just that Flintshire never got the medical notes. We live in a country where you only get to know people through freedom of request. Freedom of request is the paperwork that is kept on you, your straw man. You are a corporate entity in this country. So basically, the moment you are issued with a birth certificate, you become capitalised. Hence why your cash card, 2 seconds, where's my cash card? I've got a cash card here that doesn't work. So if you see my cash card, then obviously you will see, you can put money in, nobody can take money out. You can see that my cash card is in capital letters. So that is the capitalisation of us. don't want to get into the birth certificate if you want to read about the birth certificate, but it is the birth certificate that grants us parental responsibility. We have what's called a threshold, and that threshold, whether you meet it or not, comes under debate. Now, the irony, I've been in two very different worlds today. I've left the city and gone into the country, and I've even seen a school that I just love and adore that is near my mum's. It's that alone, driving into a road where my mum was and seeing that school caused horrendous trauma for me, like I felt set up. So let's go back to me having a meeting with social care today. And let's talk about what I went through yesterday. And being that we are talking about a past thing and past thoughts, there is no criminalization of this, and it didn't happen, so I can talk about it. I was told 2 days ago that I was having two social workers coming to speak to me about my trauma, to understand my trauma. That alone has caused me trauma, horrendous trauma. I have gone through a battlefield in my mind of how today was going to go. Today, by the way, went fucking fantastic, and two social workers left here hanging their heads going, we're going to be getting the doctors involved and we are going to be pushing on why no medical person has ever come in. And actually, I showed them the evidence today. It's a shame I can't pull it up on my other phone because I can't get into the same systems. And if I disconnect off here, then I won't be able to read it in the background because it will get rid of you. So I'm just waiting for Amber to put two documents together, and that's the document. I'm shaking, guys. Look. I'm shaking. I have cried and cried and cried for nearly 40 minutes since dropping my boys off. And I have gone through some of the most horrendous battlefields of my mind, just trying to keep the faith. I mean, just literally trying to keep the faith. And even Dean said to me before I dropped, because he spoke to the boys before they went, and he was like, "You're going to..." I don't really want to say where my boys are going tomorrow or what they're doing, because I just want to protect the privacy of my mum and my two boys having a beautiful day tomorrow. But the moment Dean said to me, "You've just got to let the boys know everything's going to be okay," because when I told Elijah last night that I was going to be driving him to Nanny's to drop him off, he absolutely broke down. And I mean, I have never seen my son break down in so harsh in my life. And he's only 4, and he first came to me and threw his arms around me and said, "Am I going to see you again?" And I said, of course you're going to see me again. And I said the very, very, very same words that I said to Aaron and Faith. And they took that promise away from me. They took that promise away from me. And I sat with him and I told him that people will come and go in his life, and he will know people for a reason. He will know people for seasons, and he will know people for a lifetime. My son knows that I won't always be here, that I'm an old mum, and that we born and we die. But it's very, very, very difficult when you are going through some form of trauma and fear to not project it onto your children. Like I've said, I tried to keep the word paedophile away from my boys the whole time I've been talking about all of this stuff. And then very quickly, my son runs up to somebody, gives him a hug, and they turn around and say, "Whoa, I could be a paedophile." And then my son hears that word. So it's very, very difficult to protect your children, especially in a world like this where I am right now. And a lot of the kids are carrying knives around here now as well, which is really difficult. So with the social workers coming today, and let's just say I had worked out I did not release from my trauma until I spoke to the social worker to confirm whether she was coming after the day that I'd had previously, the day yesterday before, because I'll bombard her with texts. When I am traumatized, I bombard her with texts. And because it was at the Children in Need meeting, and Dean had made the comment, and he'd said what a beautiful mother I am, how lovely I am, how great I am with the kids, and then bang, he went, it's Kellie's trauma. It's Kellie's trauma. It's dealing with Kellie's trauma. I've had the help with my childhood trauma, the things that I went through as a kid. I've done that. I've been through all of that. I'd done that a long time ago, back in 2004. And this is what annoys me about freedom of request and social care, because you get 5 minutes with a GP. You get, no one's messing with my volume. It's completely fine, darling. It's just the fact that if you have a look at this phone that I've got, and you see how cracked my screen is, this one's 3 times worse. But this one, the one that I had been on, yes, my phone will probably do it. I'm running on an iPhone 6 or 7, so don't forget they're on 12 now. So if you try to look at this phone, you'll see that all my apps are closed, and so what I've had to take a lot of them off as well. So you can see that I can't even, they're all just literally back on the cloud. So all I can do on this phone is access Google, and that is it. So that's why I hadn't been able to be online, and I was cutting in and out. It's not me cutting it out, it's just the fact that I'm like a plumber with rusty tools. I don't have the equipment that I need. Going to my mum's today was awesome. She had like 4 computer screens up and all the sound equipment, and somebody who couldn't do lives and stuff and videos and things. Wow, she's more kitted out than I am. If I could do what my mum could do right now, I'd be flying right now. My websites would be done, my SEOs would be done. I would know exactly what I'm doing. But she's had the time to learn, and when you've got kids, it's not that easy. And what you've got to remember is the final thing that the psychologist said is that I would put my career before my children, and I would pass them off to the services to be able to meet my own needs, and that's bollocks. My career was designed for my children, for the attentions of being a mother, especially coming from being a single mother. It's either a case of you're on benefits or you work. And being on benefits is not great. I mean, my mum's even put the money in for my petrol today, and yes, it gets louder when it's put on YouTube. When I'm on YouTube, by the way, don't forget I've been over on YouTube. So if I was talking on YouTube, the sound would probably be better. When I'm on Facebook, I'm not saying that I'm not having problems on Facebook. I am having problems on Facebook. I've already had videos taken down. I've already had links taken down since my first live, since I've come back, since Trump was out there. I have had my things suspended. I can't access my pages off of my phone, but I have to keep reminding myself that it's probably just the memory on my phone. However, when one drops one's children off at mum's, one didn't put the sat-nav on because one was crying, and one was in an emotional mess, crying, driving down the road in the wrong direction, in the country, in the middle of nowhere, not the city, not where I see police and drive past police and police are around, somewhere where you just don't see police cars driving around. All of a sudden, 2 cars behind me, there's a big fucking police car behind me, and automatically I think, you bastards, I can't even come out here without seeing one of you. Part of me thinks, Kelly, they're just driving, it's their patrol. So what does Kelly do? Even though it's their patrol, I was already aware that I was going in the wrong direction. However, I felt very quick and very cheeky that as soon as I took the corner to dart into the first estate, drive past the back of it, and wait. The police car slowed down. The police car was hovering. He didn't just shoot past me. He looked like he was looking to see where somebody had turned, and went immediately past me. and I came out and went the other way. And it wasn't until I got into Gosport that I saw a police station. So the line between paranoia and the line between not looking at everything else that could be going on. But then I have to remind myself that the only reason that I am on, or have been through what I've been through. So don't forget, when I came to Portsmouth, I came here after I'd left Downing Street. So this was when I'd met Hayden at David Cameron's election night. I'd previously met him on another protest in London, but we hadn't spoken or crossed paths. But we spoke at length prior to me being arrested. To understand my trauma, and it's not my trauma. I have to be responsible for it because I have to be aware of where it's coming from. So let's take the situation with the social workers coming today. My anxiety and stress with them coming with what I believe could be going on around me, and that's the fear of them sectioning me to understand my trauma, because social workers and police officers are not qualified. The main thing with the system is, will you work with them? If you will not work with them, they will remove your children, adopt them, because you won't work with them. And that is predominantly why most parents lose their children, because a psychological report says that you won't work with the system. So if you won't work with the system, or you can't identify your trauma, so let's use somebody who is a domestic abuser. So it doesn't matter whether it's a woman or a man, or even a child abuser. Most people don't realise what they're doing is wrong. So take the fact that I've got myself through my life the way that I have, and I've had to go through bins, be skipping, and all of that, because when you're on benefit money, you're not rich. You can't just, go to the shop and grab sandwiches and juices and things and jump in your car and bugger off and take your kids to Peppa Pig World for the day. You have to save for these things. And then whether they're in that budget, it might just be the one thing that your kid does as an entire year on a budget like this. So some people, not everybody, but some people to survive will shoplift, they will thief, they will steal. If a police officer grabs that person and says, "Whoa, you've just stolen from this shop," whee! Hang on, the irony. Can you hear it? Sirens going on all over the place. Just for that little bit of drama and theme work there. So anyway, let me come into my shoulders and neck and hip and everything are popping, locking and coming out. I am shaking. I'm still shaking. I'm in shock still. And that isn't because anything's going wrong around me right now. My boys are safe. They're in such a beautiful place. They're in a beautiful home. The only fear and worry that I have is there's a main road. I now understand the car that Elijah's been going on about, because every time they go to nannies, there's what's one of them really fast cars? It's red. I know the car's red, but I know it's a really fast car. Lamborghini. So of course, every time they go to nannies, there's a Lamborghini and next to my mum's car. You don't see Lamborghinis where I'm living. And if you do, everybody stood there going, it's a Lamborghini. I'll never be able to afford one of them. That's for other people. That's somebody else's life. Or they think egotistical wanker, which is not jealousy, it's envy. Envy is a really horrible sin to have. So anyway, let me finally tell you what I was going to tell you, because the moment that I say this, people are going to go, The social workers thought it was really funny. They've got to know me now. So when I said I was going to dangle the children over the balcony, they did look at me as if to say, "This is just Kellie speaking, isn't it?" and she is not going to accept that you are meant to have filters and boundaries depending on which services or which person. So basically, that would be like going into an airport and going, oh, I do this. Oh, I've done this. Whenever I've been in Parliament, it's so funny. Whenever you go through this is a prime example of me, right? So, say you're walking into Parliament, the first thing security will ask you, do you have any aerosol sprays, knives, offensive weapons, things like that? Now, most people would turn around and go, no. No, not Kellie. No, not Kellie. Kellie would turn around and go, well, I've got a gun strapped to my pocket, my backpack's got a bomb in it, and I've got a knife strapped to my leg, and if you come near me, I've got a pencil that will shoot you with a dart. And they look at me. They look at me as if to go, did she really just say that? I don't do it for shock and awe. I don't do it for attention seeking. I do it because it's just funny and it's my humour. And yes, I have been the sort of person in an airport to make a comment. So at the end of the day, whether this is right or wrong, how most people don't know what they're doing wrong until they've either been to prison and they've been rehabilitated. However, you could put a male or a female who is violent to a partner or children or their own family or to people on the streets, which would be actual or grievous bodily harm, and they may still say it's fine. Until Great Britain sits down and goes, we the people of Great Britain agree to these. Like the Bible says, thou shalt not kill. So therefore, our courts have murder. So if you commit murder, you shall go to prison. So we know this. We know we don't want to be murderers. But there are people out there that kill people. But there are also people out there that defend themselves. And this is the problem. So in line of defence, by the way, let me get this done, rip the fucking plaster off, and let's talk about this really quickly because I want to go and enjoy my time without my children. I have got no children now until probably maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow. I don't know yet. It's weird. It's horrible. I'm used to it because obviously I'm used to Liam and Daniel going to their dads every other weekend. But that causes trauma because for someone like me, like my mum said, she's going to email me as soon as the boys are settled in bed. But my head, I'm not worried about whether my mum is going to sexually, physically, or emotionally abuse my children. That ain't a worry of me. A worry for me is that anyone gets concerns or wants to point fingers at me, or because everybody thinks that I'm this child abuser. Because what you've got to remember is I've gone from being an EDS mother at hospital to all of a sudden going bang, having children taken, and all of a sudden I'm a child abuser. And I've been having to change that and flip that back. Well, today that changed with the social workers, and it did. But to get to that change, I had to go through one of the most horrendous battles of the mind. From the moment that I knew that they were coming, part of me thought, shit, if they talk to me about my trauma in front of my children and I get upset, I swear, or I do what I did with Aaron and Faith and make a comment, I'll smash the Xbox or kill the kids. Which is, I was talking about teenagers leaving inappropriate games out for younger children. And my older children didn't get to play, and I mean things. I'm just talking about the difference between, say, if you come into my living room, just to give you a prime example of what the problem was. In this cupboard, I have all of the 15 and 18 DVDs. In this cupboard, I have all the 12 DVDs. In this cupboard is like the PGs, but then the boys have got the U's in their bedroom. So they're allowed to watch the U films whenever they like. They can pop one of their DVDs in whenever they like. But they're not allowed to watch the 12, they're not allowed to watch the 15, they're not allowed to watch the 18. However, apart from Fast and Furious, and this is the difficulty, isn't it? Where is the line in children understanding everything in the world? So when a mother tells their child, You're safe, you're protected, you're loved. You've got your dad, you've got your mum. Nobody's going to hurt you. If something happens to that child outside the family, like me, it wasn't my mum or my dad or my blood relatives who did what they did to me. It wasn't. It was an outsider. It was my stepmum's brother, not long older than me. And then when it all come out, and then the gang rape was not even my circle of friends, so it wasn't the boys that I grew up with, but it was the boys that I didn't usually hang around with. But because I was in a different situation, going back and forth to between different parents, and my friends weren't out when I was hanging around on the streets. My friends were at home. Yeah, the parents, good parents have their children at clubs and activities, and they're not out just hanging around on the streets. Most people have gardens. I shouldn't say good parents, that's not bad. Good parenting, or should I say the difference between poverty and wealth. But at this time I wasn't. I was out on the streets with different lads, different people. I mean, these kids out here, they're sleeping together religiously at the ages of 12, 13, 14 around here. They're all in sexually active relationships. I'm not saying all, but predominantly the majority of them are sexually active in some way. Apart from the ones kept at home and not out on the streets. So literally, until Brody texts me to say that they were just walking over the bridge, I went walking. Ah, she's walking. She's walking here. Ah, and literally I sighed relief that she was walking here. I wonder how many people would understand that. What was the difference between her driving here and her walking here? Being that the council is over there and I come up over the bridges, yeah? Parking's really difficult around here, and even construction workers and council workers don't get free permits. They have to pay for their parking. So a social worker either gets a parking ticket or has to pay for a parking, which is fucking ridiculous. In fact, I think social housing should be like the army, and it should be for the nurses, the social workers, the police officers. That's who housing should be for. So yeah, I do. And I believe we should have the hotels in every city, which I've said, and that is for everybody else. And you go rehabilitated through that, which means you go out there and you choose your service, or you become an entrepreneur and buy your own home. So not everybody wants big homes. Not everybody wants. Some people just want it practical to who they are and the functions that they live. Like my mum had a lot of painting stuff around, and she's really pushing her painting, which is wonderful. But until I knew she was walking, I must have gone through every form of panic, and it was like, okay, how am I going to make sure that for the time that she's here, I don't say anything that I shouldn't say that's going to cause, because what you've got to remember is you could have a really good conversation with a social worker and then say one thing wrong, and they're having statutory meetings. They're talking as they're going back. They're writing things down. And then if it gets to the point that it's over their head, then they have to take it to someone bigger than them, and that's usually the judge. And at any point, they can send you a letter that says that we have cause for concern, and